You got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your hand. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That fella bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports, Sunday, August 16th. 1-1 on the show yesterday. It was a loss because we had two favorite plays. Detroit Tigers did not get there in a close game. They were not the better team in the game. It was not good. I thought they had the better of the starting pitchers by a significant margin, and that did not really play out that way in the game. I'm not happy about that. We did get the Milwaukee Brewers correct in the night game, so that was a 1-1 day with those two plays. I'm going to have two plays today as well, both in baseball. I have one side, one total. I'm not loving this board, really, but I don't think I have much else to say. Let's get into it. And there's no football, even though it's a Sunday. All the preseason games were Thursday through Saturday, I believe. So I think we have no football again until Thursday. But, I mean, I'm not doing anything with preseason anyway, and my reads on those games have been kind of all over the place. We do have some WNBA today as well, but I'm not interested in the WNBA games today either. All right, a lot of afternoon baseball here. Baltimore, Tampa Bay, 12:15 Eastern, Peacock. So, once again, I have a play in this game, and once again, you get a play for me that's in the first game on the slate. And it happens to be a TV game to some extent as well. It's just the way that it is, man. It's the way that it works out. We're going to take Tampa Bay in this one on the money line. Minus 138 or so is the price here. I know it's one of those ones in this range where you got to pay some money for it. If you wanted to do it a little bit differently and like make it into a -1 run line to get the price down, I'm not going to really disagree with that. But I say we just roll with this. I think Tampa Bay is in a bounce back spot here at this point. This is a wraparound series, so these teams are actually playing tomorrow as well. So it's a 4-game series, but Tampa Bay's lost the first 2 games of the series. I think you can kind of explain both of them. They only lost each one by 1 run. The first one was a return home spot, and I talk about how difficult that is, especially when you're traveling across country. Have to adjust to the time zone, and then you have the distractions that might come into play. So Tampa lost that game, and then they lost again yesterday in a game where I thought maybe losing that win streak that they had would hang them over into the next game, and maybe that is what happened there. Baltimore is showing up in this series. There's no doubt about that, and I'm not saying they're going to not be motivated here, but Tampa Bay is the better team. They're really good at home typically, and they're now in a spot where they're on the verge of potentially getting swept in the series, although, again, they have to play tomorrow as well. I think you'll get the effort out of Tampa Bay here, man. They're still the best home team in baseball, I'm pretty sure, based on their home record. Their bullpen is in decent shape coming into this one. They only used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Baltimore used 5. And Tampa Bay is ranked higher in bullpen, although they're ranked second, and I don't think they're that good, but I do think they have a bullpen edge in this game over Baltimore, who is 13th. Although if you wanted to take the bullpens out and just focus on starting pitching, I'm not going to disagree with going Tampa Bay in the first 5 here either, but I think the price is probably going to be higher if you do it that way. Tampa's the better offense as well. They're 6th. I arranged this by OPS. Baltimore is 15th, tied with the A's, and I arranged the bullpen by WHIP, as you guys know if you watch my show. But I actually think Tampa Bay has the starting pitching edge here as well, which people might not think that by looking at these surface numbers here. Trevor Rogers is pitching for Baltimore. He's had the better season over Peralta here. There's no doubt about that. I don't think he's the better pitcher if you look the bigger picture of the career and you look at how these pitchers are trending, and we'll look at the matchup numbers. So I actually think we have a sneaky edge with Tampa's pitching here. But Rogers, yeah, he's had a pretty good season, 4.21 ERA, 1.25 whip for Baltimore, not too bad. He is a little bit better on the road, 4.07 road ERA. He had 3 really good starts in a row, but then he looks like he's kind of trending in the wrong direction if you think this is a trend, because his last outing was kind of shorter and it wasn't really as good against Minnesota. But the kicker really is he's not good against Tampa Bay. In 40 at-bats, 375 average, 1,007 OPS allowed, 4-4 strikeout walk ratio. So Rogers, he has very, I would say he has below average numbers against Tampa Bay. They've been able to hit him there. Rogers overall does have a decent hit rate here. Doesn't really walk that many guys, and his strikeout rate is okay. But I'm looking at the matchup numbers. They don't look that good to me. Throughout his career, really, he hasn't been that good until last year. He did have a really good season with Baltimore last year for a little bit more than half the season. This year he's been a little bit worse than that, and he was struggling early in the season. He's got a really average strikeout walk ratio, like right at 3. Strikeouts per 9 are pretty much average as well, I would say. So he's not a great pitcher. Freddie Peralta, pitching for Tampa, when he's been good in his career, he's been the better of these two pitchers. Like I said, over his career, all of it with Milwaukee until this year, he was quite good. Until this year, he has had some real struggles here. He had a really bad majority of the season with the Mets. I still kind of think that was just an environment thing. Maybe pitching for a team that's not in contention wasn't motivating enough for him. I don't know. So I don't know how much we want to dig into these numbers here. He has a 5.33 ERA, 1.5 whip. Those are bad numbers. His strikeout walk ratio is not very good, lower than 3. He's walked too many guys this year. His strikeout per 9 rate is down this year as well. It's usually above 10 throughout his career, but he's not that old, and he hasn't had any significant injury. So you can see why I've been saying that I don't think he's this bad, like as bad as he's shown this year, and he might be turning it around. He's made 2 starts with Tampa. The first one was kind of a bad draw, I would say, in Colorado. He didn't do well there, but he pitched in the A's stadium after that, which is another difficult stadium to pitch in, and he did well in that start, in the next one. So he's trending in the right direction, I would say. And Tampa did actually win both of those games, so they gave him a lot of run support there. So I do think the change of scenery is actually going to help Peralta. I do think he looks like he's moving in the right direction. I think he's going to improve with Tampa Bay. His career tells you he's not as bad as what we've seen out of him this year. And he's been good against Baltimore in his career in 39 at-bats, 205 average allowed, 685 OPS, 15-5 strikeout walk ratio. And you look at his numbers overall, his issue has been the walks this year. That's really been, well, actually, he's been too hittable as well, so my mistake. So, yeah, he's been putting guys on base just all over the place. That's true. Bad season. Usually the walks are his main issue, but usually it's not this bad. And again, I'm saying I think he's going to turn it around and maybe have a decent stretch run here. His strikeout rate has been decent over the course of the season, so he does still have strikeout ability here. Again, I think maybe it was a problem with motivation. I guess we'll see, but I'm going to back Tampa Bay here in this one. 72% of tickets, 86% of the cash on them. They're in the minus 130 something range, as I said. They open a little bit higher than that, actually. Full game total is 7.5 right now, juiced to the over. Money kind of coming in on the over in this one. I mean, I can understand why. Like, you could make the argument that there could be some runs here on both sides, I suppose, but I'm focusing on the side, obviously. Tampa Bay is, I think, one of the better plays of the day and the only side that I have on my card here. Arizona and Atlanta, this is the end of this series, and Atlanta is trying to avoid the sweep at home. These home teams trying to avoid sweeps, man, a lot of times you do want to look their way. Atlanta's had a really bad series, too, being outscored 12-3, shut out in the first game, then they allowed 10 runs yesterday. Arizona's hot right now, and Atlanta may be kind of in cruise control mode here, but I think you're going to get motivation out of them here because you don't want to get swept at home, man, you know, and maybe Arizona gets a little bit high after those first 2 wins. Arizona's playing Boston next. I don't think they're going to be like looking ahead or anything like that. So I'm not too concerned with Arizona as far as that's concerned. So I think Atlanta is the situational play here. The problem is I don't really love Atlanta necessarily in the starting pitching, although you'll actually see the matchup numbers actually are not that bad for Atlanta here. Atlanta did use 3 relief pitchers yesterday, some heavy usage from those guys. Lighter usage from Arizona's 3 relief pitchers they used yesterday. Atlanta's still the better bullpen, though. They're ranked 3rd. Arizona's 5th, but I don't think it's that close. Atlanta's half a run better in the ERA, so I think those rankings, even though I like Whip better, I think those rankings tend to be somewhat misleading in a way. Atlanta's the better offense. They're ranked 8th, although Arizona has been good since the All-Star break. They're 17th, tied with the Yankees. Michael Soroka is getting the start for Arizona. He just came back from injury, I think in his last start. He's had a good season, a 2.92 ERA, 1.1 whip. And this might be, I was going to say, is this his first time facing his former team? No. He was on 3 different teams after Atlanta. My mistake. It was all really quick, though. I, barely remember any of that. I only remember him being on Atlanta and then Arizona. So I don't know. Maybe he'll still get up for it because Atlanta is the team where he spent most of his career, and he's going to pitch against them here. Soroka, so 2.92 ERA, 1.1 whip on the season. That's good. He's not as good on the road, 4.54 road ERA. So you might be able to fade him here. His first start back, I think they kind of limited his pitch count here. He had some control issues. He didn't allow any runs against the Rockies. It was at home, but he did walk too many guys there. Still, I'm not going to put too much weight into that because we've seen what he's done over the course of the season. Hasn't walked many guys, not allowing many hits, decent strikeout rate. We can see all that. The strikeout walk ratio is good because he doesn't walk many guys. Strikeouts per 9 looks all right as well. Soroka against Atlanta, though, has not been that good. In 37 at-bats, 270 average allowed, 774 OPS, 6-4 strikeout walk ratio. So you might be able to look towards Atlanta here based on both the situation and the specific matchups here. And Soroka's not as good on the road. And Bryce Elder is actually better at home, even though there's still just something in the back of my head like, I can't do it, man, because Soroka is the better pitcher over Elder, and I don't really want to back Elder here. And Elder was not good in his last start, but I do think I'm going to be leaning towards the Braves in this one. Elder, 4.03 ERA, 1.25 whip. Mediocre stuff here, but like I said, better at home, 3.56 home ERA. Last start, though, at home, he got wrecked by the Mets, and I did actually give out a play on the Mets in that game. We got that one correct. Elder was not good in that one. He was pitching pretty well for the few starts prior to that, but he's got some issues here. His walk rate is a little bit high. He allows a lot of home runs, so some of the contact that he allows is too hard. Doesn't really strike many guys out. That's kind of a problem. His hit rate isn't too bad, though. Advanced analytics guys, again, have issues with him because he doesn't strike anybody, or he doesn't strike that many guys out. His strikeout walk ratio has never really been that good. It's below 3. And his strikeout per 9 is in the 7s, so that's some really mediocre stuff. But he's good against Arizona typically in 60 at-bats, 200 average, 528 OPS allowed, 14-5 strikeout walk ratio. So the matchup numbers do seem to support this. I would lean Atlanta here. Atlanta's trying to avoid the sweep. They're at home. They're a small favorite here. Soroka, not as good on the road. Elder, better at home. I think Atlanta will have the better bullpen behind them here. Atlanta with the better offense. Better matchup numbers supporting Elder over Soroka as well here. So, yeah, I would lean Atlanta here. The money is not agreeing with that, though. Atlanta dropped from minus 131 down to minus 119 or so here, and they're the public side. 70% of tickets, 59% of the cash on them. So the public's still just playing the team with the better record, I guess, even though Arizona's kind of been the hotter of these two teams here. Although I think Atlanta was on a nice win streak not too long ago. So maybe, that is also kind of keeping the public sort of on their side. But, yeah, I would lean to Atlanta here. The market read doesn't support it, though. And the money is coming in on the over for whatever that's worth at about 9. I don't really have a good read on the total there. But, yeah, I think if I was going to play the game, I would just play Atlanta on the money line. Market not agreeing with it. Red Sox and Pittsburgh. My Boston Red Sox with the win yesterday. Sonny Gray, good start from him again yesterday, man. I think I was kind of correct with my read yesterday. I believe I did say Red Sox and first 5 under or something like that in the game. Both of those would have hit. Red Sox won 4-0, but they put up 3 runs in the 9th inning against Luke Weaver, and really nobody in the Red Sox lineup was doing a whole lot yesterday except Willie Abreu. Although it was a 1-0 Red Sox lead into the 9th inning, but what I will say is the Red Sox stranded a lot of base runners in that game. So the Red Sox were the better team in that game. They had a lot of opportunities with runners in scoring position where they completely failed, and Jared Jones was getting some really crucial strikeouts. So I think Jones is pretty good. This is going to be a much weaker pitching matchup here. Paul Skeens was supposed to start this game, and then it was going to be Skeens against Sandoval, which I would say, yeah, the Red Sox would have no chance to win that game, even though Skeens has been having some issues. Like, I think he's hurt, man. There's something going on. His velocity's down. I don't know what the deal is, even though he was able to get through his last start with a pretty, a quality start. There's still something wrong with him, but he's not pitching today. So the Red Sox are going to avoid him, and they're going to basically get a Pittsburgh bullpen game here. Problem is the Red Sox are pitching Tarik Skubal here, and that guy sucks. So my first instinct looking at this game was this pitching blows across the board. So I was thinking probably the over might be the way to look at this game. The Red Sox are going to have the better bullpen here. They used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. They did use Chapman, though, even though they had a 4-run lead. I don't know if I like that move or not, but he hadn't had any work in a while. However, maybe they should have let him rest more because they might actually need him to come in for a save situation at some point. And you kind of want to rest him as you're going down the stretch run here, sort of as much as you can because he's old. So I don't know. Or, maybe the Red Sox should, I don't know if they should switch to a different closer. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I don't know. Chapman seems to allow guys to get on base quite a bit, although I don't think he did yesterday. Pittsburgh used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Luke Weaver was terrible in the 9th inning. Maybe not the greatest pickup for them. There's a reason why the Yankees got rid of him, and then the Mets traded him away at the trade deadline here. Pittsburgh is not a good bullpen, really. They're 23rd. The Red Sox are number 1, so Red Sox have a bullpen advantage here. Pittsburgh is the better offense. They're ranked 4th, and I keep pointing out, I think they're still the number 1 home offense, although, I don't know, they scored 0 yesterday, so I don't know. Sonny Gray, really good performance from him yesterday. Red Sox 14th in offense here. Seems kind of wild to have the Red Sox ranked higher offensively than the Yankees, man, because I just don't think that that's really accurate, but it's kind of hilarious the way things are working out right now. Red Sox are not going to make it as far as the Yankees, though. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not liking what we're seeing out of the Red Sox recently. Tarik Skubal remains in the rotation. He's pitching today. He looks good because he has a 3.3 ERA, but his whip is 1.7. I mean, come on, man. He's putting more than 1.5 guys on base per inning. Yeah, you can't do that. He's getting extremely lucky. He has a 2.93 road ERA, yet his opponent batting average, both home and road, over 300. So, yeah, he can't sustain this. He sucks. You look at his career numbers, they're not very good. He's putting too many guys on base in basically every way you could imagine. Too many hits, too many walks. Strikeout rate is fine, but this is otherwise not good. Strikeout walk ratio, not good. Strikeout per 9 is like the only number that he has that's really tolerable, I would say. Although, yeah, like he's had pretty much all quality starts. Well, I wouldn't say that. A couple of the starts didn't make it 5 innings, but he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all but 1 start. So do with that what you want, I guess. The Red Sox had won his first 5 starts, and then they finally lost one last time out. And he wasn't really that bad in that one, but it was against Toronto. He had the lead over Dylan Cease in that game. Then the Red Sox blew it late, and they allowed some unearned runs. Now, Pittsburgh is unfamiliar with Sandoval. They have 3 guys who have faced him, 9 at-bats. The only hit is a home run from Brandon Lowe, or it seems like the announcers call him Lau. I'm like, it's Lowe. Like, what? I'm going to still call him Lowe. I can't do it, man. But Pittsburgh, yeah, they have a 111 average against Sandoval, 556 OPS, 5.0 strikeout walk ratio. So, yes, he has been good against them in a small sample, but I don't trust him. I don't think there's any way you can. And Pittsburgh, since they pushed Skeens back, they're going to use basically a bullpen game here. They're using Lake Bashar, or however you pronounce this guy's name. They got him at the trade deadline from Miami. He's had a good season. I mean, 3.97 ERA, 1.08 whip. He was good at home pitching with Miami at 2.37 home ERA. That might wind up going up with Pittsburgh, though, because Pittsburgh, it's not as pitcher-friendly here as Miami Stadium is. It looks like he's struggled a little bit since coming over to Pittsburgh. His last outing was kind of bad, giving up 3 runs in 3 innings against his former team, Miami. He did not do well there. What I will say about this game is Bashar might not be I think he will probably start, and he'll be like an opener, and he'll probably go about 3 innings here, I would imagine, or something like that. Maybe they'll let him go a little bit longer because they probably don't want to use their bullpen that significantly. I think they do have to play tomorrow, too. But, yeah, they do. They're playing Detroit tomorrow. I think most teams are playing tomorrow. Unfortunately, we have a longer Monday card than we usually do. But what I was going to say is you could play this. If you're going to play this game, you could play it as Sandoval must start. Don't pick a starter for Pittsburgh because it's going to be some bullpen mix here for Pittsburgh, Bashar, Red Sox have faced him a little bit. They have 5 guys who have faced him, 6 at-bats. The only hit is a single from Wilson Contreras, 2 strikeouts, no walks. Do what you want with that, but it's a small sample size on both sides. The numbers look good, but it's so small. I don't think you can read into it at all. Bashar has been the better of these 2 pitchers for whatever that's worth. You'll get just his overall numbers, but most of it is coming out of the bullpen. His strikeout rate's decent. It's above 1 per inning, so that's good. He doesn't allow many hits at all, so he's much harder to hit than Sandoval is. His walk rate is kind of mediocre, though. But I don't think we really need to dig into his numbers too much because I don't think he's going to be out there that long. I think the over is still probably the right move in this game if you're going to try to play this game. I don't want to do it, but the money looks like it doesn't agree with me. 64% of tickets on the over, 62% of the cash on the under. Totals at 8.5, I guess. I don't agree with the market read there. I would play the game over. I think you have lackluster pitching here both ways. You're going to get a lot of Pittsburgh's bullpen in here, and they're not that good. Sandoval's way worse than his numbers look. As far as the side, probably a slight lean towards Pittsburgh for me. Maybe just in the first 5 because the Red Sox do have a bullpen edge. 89% of tickets, 92% of the cash on the Red Sox. They're a small favorite in the pick'em range. They're public. It looks like they did flip. It looks like it was going to be minus 120 if it was Skeens, which seems like a really low price on a Skeens game, to be honest. Like, if it was Skeens, I might be coming in on Pittsburgh here, to be honest. Although this seems like there's something not right with him. But since the pitching change was announced, the Red Sox flipped to the favorite because of that. I don't think Sandoval should be a road favorite really against anybody. So Pittsburgh first 5 might be a way to look, although Pittsburgh might be a favorite in the first 5 because the odds makers know Sandoval's terrible and the Red Sox bullpen is good. So if you're going to fade the Red Sox pitching, probably you should be limiting it to the first 5, and then Bashar, or however you pronounce his name, probably be out there for at least the majority of the first 5 innings for you if you do it that way, I guess. All right. Yankees-Toronto. The Yankees are trying to avoid getting swept here. Toronto beat Cam Schlittler yesterday with a 3-1 win 2 days ago and a 4-1 win yesterday. Yankees offense continuing to struggle. This has been a low-scoring series, man, with 2 struggling offenses. I don't know how else to put it. The Yankees have the better bullpen here, and they should have a significant bullpen advantage here because the usage was less. They used 4 guys, but really their better relievers didn't come into the game yesterday, and it was somewhat lighter usage. Toronto used a bullpen game yesterday and somehow beat Schlittler with it. Not good. Not a good sign for the Yankees offense. Toronto used 7 relief pitchers in that effort. So their bullpen is not in good shape here. Yankees are number 4 in bullpen whip, but they're the number 2 ERA, which I think basically that is what they are, the second best bullpen. Toronto is 16th, so they're not a bad bullpen, but you can see that they're really overworked right now. Yankees have the better offense as much as they've been struggling. They're 17th, tied with the Arizona. Toronto is dead last, 30th. Starting pitching, though, does favor Toronto here. Ryan Weathers is pitching for the Yankees, so not one of their better starters, although he's not been that bad. 3.69 ERA, 1.21 whip. He's actually a little bit better on the road, 3.35 road ERA. he's been decent pretty much for the whole season, man. His hit rate's not too high. Doesn't really walk that many guys. His strikeout rate is actually pretty good, and he gets a lot of ground balls. So looking at it overall, his strikeout walk ratio is actually the best that it's been in any season in his career, and this is the longest season that he's had, so that's not bad for him. His strikeout walk ratio, I was going to say, I think that, or strikeouts per 9, I mean, is probably at its highest as well, and that is basically the case as well. Yes, that's true. So, yeah, do with that what you want, but Weathers has had his best season this year. However, he's not good against Toronto in 37 at-bats, even though this is not a good offense. 351 average allowed, 1,071 OPS, 9-to-1 strikeout-walk ratio. Good ratio there, but the rest of these numbers, not good. So Toronto might actually be able to do some damage here offensively against him. And Toronto is going with Dylan Cease here. So the Yankees should be the more motivated team here because they're trying to avoid the sweep, even though they're not going to miss the playoffs, the Yankees, but believe it or not, Toronto is in like a 5-way tie for the last wild card spot right now. It's completely insane. I think it's a 5-way tie between like Minnesota, Toronto, Baltimore, Texas, and is it Detroit maybe? I forget, something like that. And yeah, Seattle isn't really too far back from that. The AL is insane, man. Like nobody is really I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Nobody has emerged as the team that's going to take that last wild card spot. So I don't know, although knowing the Red Sox, they might just completely fall apart. I have no idea. But Cease is pitching here. The Blue Jays will at least probably have motivation here because why wouldn't you when it's a series against the Yankees? But also technically they can make the playoffs. So technically they're tied for the last spot right now. 2.4 ERA, 1.07 whip for Cease. Obviously having a really good season. Not as good at home, though. 3.04 home ERA, but still good numbers. Had some command issues last time with the Red Sox, last time against the Red Sox. Red Sox blew that game. The Red Sox were beating Dylan Cease with Sandoval on the mound, which is insane to think about. The Red Sox bullpen and some bad fielding kind of did them in that game. That's kind of crazy. But Cease overall, he's been good, although, yes, his walk rate is kind of an issue, but he's very unhittable. He strikes out a ton of guys. It's just, yeah, he does have some command issues. That's been the case throughout his career, which does keep his strikeout-walk ratio from really being ever that good. But his strikeout per 9 is insane. It's really high this year. It's the highest that it's been in any season, over 13, which is really crazy. And he is also good against the Yankees in 89 at-bats, 213 average allowed, 630 OPS, 23-10 strikeout walk ratio. I mean, I'm not going to come in on this game because I do think the Yankees are going to be the more motivated team here, and you're going to have to pay a price with Dylan Cease. The money is back in Toronto, it looks like, though, somewhat. 69% of the tickets, 76% of the cash on them. It's a reasonable-ish price if you do want to try to play Toronto, minus like 120 or something. If you play Toronto, I would say take them in the first 5 only, and maybe that is actually the best approach in this game, just to play Cease out pitching Weathers in the first 5. You probably have to pay more of a price for it, though. Like, you're probably going to be looking at like minus 140 on Toronto if you do it that way, or maybe even higher. And if it's higher than that, maybe you do a minus half a run on the run line there. You need Toronto to score if you do that, but they might be able to do that a little bit against Weathers. The money is coming in on the under as well. The total's 7. That tells you how weak these offenses have been recently. A total of 7, man. Although some of it is obviously the Cease factor, cease and desist, but still, it's a pretty low total, man. So the odds makers seem to think it's going to be low scoring. The money, it seems like it actually agrees with that. I'm not going to come in and try to play an under in that one, though. No way. But I think Toronto first 5 makes some sense. I think you have to exclude their bullpen, though. It's not the better bullpen, and it's the less rested bullpen there. But motivationally, the Yankees kind of make sense. And if you want to take the Yankees, you'll get them as an underdog. And if you do take the Yankees, you should do that in the full game. But yeah, I don't have a great read on that game. But my slight lean would be Toronto first 5. All right. White Sox and Detroit. Detroit, man, not on my good side right now. Losing by 1 run yesterday. It was a legitimate loss. They lost the game. They were not the better team in the game. I don't know what else to say. Detroit's been good recently. Chicago has now sort of started pulling away a little bit in this division again. They're 4.5 games up over Detroit. Like I said, I think Detroit is tied in the last wild card spot right now with all those other teams. And I think out of all those teams, I think Detroit is the best out of that mix. And the run differential supports that. Detroit has a very positive run differential, one of the best in the entire American League, which is ridiculous to think about. That tells you Detroit is better than their record looks. Although some of that was back when they still had Skubal and whatever, but they've been playing pretty well since the trade deadline, except they haven't been doing well in this series. Maybe Detroit shows up here, man. They're another home team trying to avoid a sweep here. White Sox probably will still be motivated here, but maybe after they've won the series, maybe they do kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, the White Sox here. They do have a big series next against the Cubs, so they have their Subway series or whatever you want to call it coming up next against the Cubs, and they've already won this series. They already have a bigger lead over Detroit. So, yeah, I mean, situationally, I think it does favor Detroit with the situation. The problem is the pitching matchup definitely does not favor Detroit here. So, Detroit's another one of those teams trying to avoid, like the Yankees, Detroit trying to avoid a sweep, but they don't have the starting pitching edge here. So, it's, yeah, a little bit difficult to try to figure the game out. Like, which one of those do you weigh more heavily, right? Like, situation / motivation, or the way better starting pitcher, Detroit used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. They're probably going to need their bullpen to be pretty rested here because it looks like they're basically going with a bullpen game here. White Sox used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. These teams are ranked pretty closely in both bullpen and offense. Detroit 14th, White Sox 15th in bullpen. And offensively, Detroit 12th. White Sox are actually up to 9th now, again, offensively. So they've been doing pretty well recently there. White Sox are going with Sean Burke. Like I said, they have the better starter here. He's had a really good season. 2.99 ERA, 1.08 whip. He's established himself as like their best starter. 2.63 road ERA, so he's been good on the road as well. Really good in his last outing against the Reds. Wasn't really good in his previous one against the Red Sox, but over the last month plus, that Red Sox start was the only bad one that he had. Weird, because he was going back home because he's from Sutton, Mass. So I don't know what that was. But yeah, he's got a low hit rate on the season. Doesn't really walk that many guys. His strikeout rate is nice and high. All that stuff looks good. Strikeout walk ratio close to 4. That's good. Strikeout per 9 above 10. That's also good. Numbers against Detroit are fairly good as well in 30 at-bats, 267 average allowed, 667 OPS, 5-3 strikeout walk ratio is not good, but the rest of these numbers are good. So I think Burke should probably do well again here. He's in the better of his home road splits. He's good against Detroit. Detroit is good at home, though, typically. So, they do fall into that team trying to avoid the sweep at home, and they're better at home. But if you want to back them, you have to back Drew Anderson in a bullpen game, basically, against Burke. I wouldn't really want to do that. Anderson, 3.91 ERA, 1.3 whip. He did go 4 innings last time against Cleveland, so they're kind of letting him go deeper into the game. Maybe it's depending on pitch count, matchup. Everything does kind of depend on that, but whatever. I wouldn't really trust him, though. The White Sox, when they have faced him, they have 12 at-bats against him, a 4.17 average, 14.17 OPS. Yeah, basically, it looks like it's going to be a bullpen game. The motivation is there on the Detroit side, but I think if I was forced to play this game, I think I would have to lean to the White Sox. I just think the pitching is too much of an edge for them, in my opinion, and the money seems to agree. 79% of tickets, 87% of the cash on them. It's basically a pick-em price there. And because it's a Detroit bullpen game, I would just say do it full game. I think if you do it, you should pick Burke must start because he's a huge part of that handicap. Don't pick a starter for Detroit because it's going to be some sort of bullpen game. Probably it will be Anderson, but I don't know if that's completely guaranteed. So that's what I think about that game. Miami and Cincinnati, these teams have split this series. At this point, I think Miami, technically is trying to get a wild card spot, but I don't know, man. You might be able to argue these teams are trying to play out the stretch here as well. They've split the series so far, like I said, so probably some motivation here from both sides. The Reds' bullpen is bad. They used, whatever this is, 5 guys yesterday. Miami used 4. Miami will have the bullpen edge in this game. They're number 6, although I don't think they're quite that good. But they're better than Cincinnati, who's 25th. I feel like I just repeat myself, but, just going through the process. Miami's number 9 in offense, tied with the White Sox, who we just talked about. Cincinnati 23rd, tied with San Diego. That's not a good sign. So Miami has the better offense as well. On the surface, just first glance at this, Miami has the better pitcher on the mound here too, Yuri Perez. He's definitely the pitcher with the much higher ceiling out of the 2 pitchers today, and the pitcher with way more talent. The problem is the matchup numbers don't really look great for him, but he's had a good season. This has been like his best season so far. 3.39 ERA, 1.11 whip. That's all good. He's not quite as good on the road, 3.9 road ERA. However, his opponent batting average on the road is good. It's just he walks too many guys on the road for whatever reason. But the batting average is below 200 there. Perez has been striking a lot of guys out recently. He's been in pretty good form over the past month plus. Like, he's only allowed more than 2 earned runs twice in here. He's had multiple shutouts in here. The offense isn't backing him very well. Like, Miami's losing most of his games, but most of it isn't his fault. He's got a low hit rate. His walk rate is not too bad. He's had problems with walks in his career, but this year he's kind of figured that out a bit, and his strikeout rate is high as well. So these numbers look good. He's got his strikeout walk ratio right around 3, although that's basically in line with his career numbers. So I think his strikeout rate kind of actually has gone a little bit down from what he's done in the past. Yeah, it's around the same, I guess, strikeout per 9. So I don't know. Perez against the Reds, though, not great. In 44 at-bats, 273 average allowed, 947 OPS, 13-4 strikeout walk ratio. So the strikeouts are still there, but he does kind of struggle against the Reds. And the Reds play in a much more hitter-friendly ballpark than Miami does, so that type of transition might be a little bit negative for him. He's still overall better than Nick Lodolo, who's pitching for Cincinnati. Lodolo's had some issues. 4.86 ERA, 1.46 whip is definitely not good. Although if you look at his career numbers, he's put up better numbers than this throughout his career. Not a good season for him, though, and he's not been good at home. 5.27 ERA at home. Came back from injury after missing a month and had a pretty bad start at the White Sox. Good command, though. 5 strikeouts, no walks in 4 innings. But he got hit around. He gave up 3 home runs. Maybe you could argue he got a little bit unlucky there. Hasn't really pitched that much this season. He's got a high hit rate, though, high walk rate. None of that is good. Strikeout rate is kind of mediocre. Strikeout walk ratio is kind of bad here at 2. That's not good. Strikeouts per 9, some of the worst that he's had throughout his career. So his numbers, like I said, he's been better throughout his career, which kind of does indicate to me he should improve somewhat, but maybe the injuries are really affecting him. I don't know, but he has not had a good season. However, Miami doesn't hit him well. In 32 at-bats, 188 average allowed, 476 OPS. This is a pass for me, obviously. What do you do with this game when you have Miami has the better offense, Miami has the better bullpen, Miami has the better starter as far as, like, talent level. Cincinnati has the better starter as far as overall matchup numbers. Cincinnati's starter isn't good at home. Perez might struggle a little bit on the road. Like, what does that equate to, really? I'm not entirely sure what the best way to play this game is. I mean, if you weigh the matchup numbers, you could say Cincinnati maybe is the right approach here. If you're going to play Cincinnati, you should do it in the first 5 because their bullpen is very bad. 74% of tickets are on Miami, 53% of the cash on Cincinnati. So the money does support that. The money's coming in on Cincinnati. Miami has dropped a little bit down into the minus 118 range on the money line. Cincinnati first 5, though, you're probably going to be looking at a favorite price there if you do that. There's probably an argument for that, though. Like, that Cincinnati in the first 5 might actually be the better way to play this, just looking at the matchup numbers. Total in the game is 8.5. Money is coming in on the over. I don't really disagree with the over either. I think there are more arguments for the over than the under. Like, Perez might have some issues pitching in this stadium, but it's just, I keep going back to, I don't know, man. Like, Cincinnati's offense just isn't that good, but they've been able to hit Perez, so he doesn't have good matchup numbers here. Lodolo's just struggled for most of the season and hasn't been good at home. Yeah, so the over probably is a lean for me there, but also Cincinnati in the first 5. I don't want anything to do with any of that, though. It's ugly, man. San Diego and Cleveland. This has looked like an under series, and that's been the case. Both games, I think, have gone under the total. Oh, no, the first game went over the total. What did I say? I forgot that. 7-5. That was crazy. I liked the under in that one. I didn't put it on my card. I was close to doing it, and it got destroyed, so I'm glad I didn't. Yesterday was much lower scoring. Cleveland won the game yesterday 6-1. I did give out a lean on Cleveland yesterday. Kind of mad I didn't put it on my card because that was one of the closer ones for me to putting it on my card. Cleveland got the win, so this is an even series here now. Cleveland's still trying to stay alive in the wild card race here. San Diego is looking pretty good as far as their wild card positioning right now, I think. Actually, well, maybe not because it's the National League. There are just too many. No, actually, I don't think they are. There are too many teams in that mix in the NL, so both teams do have to keep playing hard here. Cleveland used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. San Diego is the better bullpen. San Diego used 3 as well, but not really their better relievers for the most part. San Diego is 8th in bullpen, tied with the Mets. Cleveland is 19th, but they're not that bad. Their ERA is at least below 4, so I think they're a little bit better than that would suggest, but not as good as San Diego. San Diego 23rd offensively, tied with the Reds. Not good, but Cleveland is worse. Cleveland 29th, so Cleveland does not have the offensive edge here either. They probably don't have the starting pitching edge here either. Casey Mize is pitching for San Diego. They got him at the trade deadline. He's had 1 bad start for them and 1 good start for them so far. 3.38 ERA, 1.09 whips. He's been good on the season. He's not been as good on the road. 4.47 road ERA. Got battered on the road in his first start with San Diego at Arizona, but settled down, had a nice outing against Milwaukee after he had a bad second inning. He settled way down and wound up having a really nice start there. Good for us because we had the under here on the show in that game, and that wound up winning. So Mize seems like he's bounced back from that bad start. I think he's going to continue pitching well, in my opinion, but he is going up against a Cleveland team that's very familiar with him. So he was just on Detroit. Now he's going back to face a former divisional foe here. However, maybe that's not a bad thing because Cleveland's offense isn't good, and they have not been good against Mize. 70 at-bats, 186 average allowed, 569 OPS, 11-5 strikeout walk ratio is the only number in here that really looks that bad. Other than the fact that I guess Jose Ramirez does do some damage here against him, and Brian Rocchio kind of also does. But Mize generally does well against him. It looks like it's a decent matchup for him there, so I don't think that's bad. My first instinct on this game was to look at the under here. I thought the under might wind up being a play for me. The reason it's not going to happen is because of this guy, Tanner Bibee, even though generally I like him and I think he's under the radar because his record looks so bad, but that's because he's been getting no run support this year. He's a pretty good pitcher, though. 3.99 ERA, 1.13 whip is not bad. He's pretty good at home, 3.92 home ERA. Last time he gave up some runs against Detroit in a game where I think maybe we lost on an under in that one. I don't remember. There was an unearned run that came home against him, though. He wound up giving up 5 earned runs on 5 hits and 2 walks. So he got a little bit unlucky, or most of the base runners that got on scored against him. He struggled a little bit the previous outing, too, though, against the Mets, just in that they hit 3 home runs off him. But he had a ton of strikeouts in that one, too. So I don't know what to think, because Bibee was pretty good for the majority of the month of July. Looking at his overall numbers here, low hit rate, doesn't really walk that many guys, but he allows a lot of home runs, though. He's a very fly ball heavy pitcher, and he doesn't strike enough guys out. That is kind of the issue here. His strikeout walk ratio is the lowest that it's been in his career this year, which is not great. So his strikeout stuff has gone down. His strikeouts per 9 are the worst that he's had in his career. So there's something going on there. His strikeout rate has gotten worse. However, his numbers still are not that bad, but against San Diego, they're bad. In 52 at-bats, 423 average allowed, 1283 OPS, 8-4 strikeout walk ratio. These numbers are not good, man. Rengifo hits him really well in a decent amount of at-bats, and Freddie Furman, not to be confused with Freddie Freeman, or Fermin, I don't know, does a lot of damage to him as well. Not a good matchup for Bibee, man. So looking at all those numbers, yeah, I think San Diego is probably the right side in that game. Like, I think the motivation will be there on both sides. Looks like the money somewhat agrees with that, although the public is also on that side. 71% of tickets, 77% of the cash. It's basically a pick 'em price, and to me, it looks like you're getting the better of the starting pitching matchup. You're going to have the better bullpen behind you as well, and actually the better offense because Cleveland's is that bad. So, yeah, I think San Diego is the way to look in that game. Not that strong of an opinion from me, though. Washington and the New York Mets on ESPN Unlimited. The Mets are on the verge of a sweep, believe it or not. Washington seems to be kind of packing it in for the season. Their offense seems to be dwindling a little bit, even though they're still the number 1 ranked offense in OPS. Mets have had a good series, though, but are they going to overlook Washington in the last game of the series? I don't know, man. They're playing San Diego next. Maybe that's a big series just because San Diego is in the playoff picture, whereas Washington is not. So maybe after winning the first 2 games, maybe the Mets do start looking ahead here. Issue is, if you want to look towards Washington, because they might be the more motivated team here, you're not getting the better pitching, really, in any phase of the game if you're trying to play Washington here. You'll get the better offense behind you, but not the better pitching. The Mets used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. They have the better bullpen. Washington also used a bunch. Washington used 5, so Washington should be at a pretty significant bullpen disadvantage here. Mets are 8th, tied with San Diego. Not bad. Washington 26th in bullpen. Not good. Washington is number 1 in offense, though, like I said. So they're over the course of the season, they've still been able to do that. The Mets 25th. The Mets have been at least less bad recently. And the Mets are going up against Jake Irvin. And that's kind of the problem. Again, if you want Washington to try to avoid the sweep, you have to back the worst pitcher here with Jake Irvin. 5.79 ERA, 1.32 whip, not great. He is better on the road, though. So maybe he is possibly backable. 4.38 ERA on the road, 164 opponent batting average. So he's been significantly better on the road. But he came back from injury. He's made 3 starts since coming back from injury after missing like 2 months, and he hasn't been very good. He made 1 decent start in there against Philly. He's had too many walks, really, and the other starts, none of these have gone deep, and the other 2 starts were both bad at Atlanta and against the Cubs, though those are good offenses. The Mets are not as good as those 2 teams, obviously. Irvin has been mediocre against the Mets in 74 at-bats. Good strikeout-walk ratio, 22-4, really good, but 769 OPS allowed is a little high, although the 243 average allowed isn't too bad. But he's still allowed some power to these guys. And as far as Irvin, overall, he's got a low hit rate here. That's not too bad. His walk rate is too high, though. Strikeout rate is fairly good, above 1 per inning. But the walk rate is too high, so that's knocking his strikeout-walk ratio down. So it's below average, I would say. And strikeout per 9 is actually good. It's the highest strikeout per 9 that he's posted in his career. So he is striking guys out. So at least there is that. So there are some okay signs for Irvin, but not enough that I would want to trust him at all, really. And he's going up against Christian Scott for the Mets, so I think he's the better pitcher here. 3.45 ERA, although his whip is a little bit questionable at 1.3. Scott, better ERA at home, 3.19, but his opponent batting average is a little bit worse at home at 250, I think is what that was. Not great in his last outing against Atlanta. 4 runs in 4 innings, was too hittable there. The strikeout walk ratio was still good. He's still striking guys out. So his strikeout rate remains high, very high, actually. His hit rate is pretty low. His problem is the walks, obviously. Walks, yeah, the biggest issue with him by far. His strikeout rate is quite good. Good enough that his strikeout walk ratio is still good. Strikeouts per 9, very high at 11.3. So he's got talent. Can definitely strike guys out. He's got to do something about his command, man. That's the one thing. But he does have good numbers against Washington. In 16 at-bats, 125 average allowed, 410 OPS. Those are good numbers. 4-2 strikeout walk ratio, not good, but the rest of those numbers are good. Even though the Washington side should be the more motivated side, I don't think I could do it. The money's actually coming in on the Mets. 75% of tickets, 87% of the cash on the Mets. I think I probably still agree with the Mets, but the price is kind of insane at minus 166 or whatever. But the odds makers are telling you something with that price, right? Like, why would the Mets be that heavily favored? The odds makers are telling you they don't think the Mets are as bad as their record looks. They think Scott has an advantage over Irvin to that degree. And I might agree with that. And I think the Mets do have the bullpen edge as well. They don't have the hitting edge, but I think they have the pitching edge throughout this game. You have to lay a -1 run line with the Mets, but that might be the approach in this game, man. I certainly don't want to do it because the price does seem high to me, and it's not a great spot, at least for the Mets, So I'm definitely avoiding it. But the matchup supports the Mets. Situation, not really. Philadelphia at Minnesota. This is another situation with a home team trying to avoid a sweep, although the first game was in the Field of Dreams field, so it wasn't really in Minnesota Stadium, but Minnesota followed up that 7-1 loss with a 9-1 loss at home yesterday. So, yeah, Luzardo had the upper hand in that one. I'm not too surprised by that outcome, really, although I thought Prelip would probably be a little bit better in that game. But Minnesota, they're trying to avoid the sweep here. Both teams probably motivated because both teams are trying to make wild card spots. Minnesota maybe a little bit extra motivated because they're one of those home teams trying to avoid a sweep. If you're going to try to play Minnesota, you got to avoid their bullpen. They used 4 relief pitchers yesterday. Their bullpen is bad. Philadelphia's is not that much better. They only used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday, but I don't think you can back Minnesota's bullpen. They're worse and less rested. They're 28th out of the bullpen. The Phillies are 18th, but Phillies' ERA is still not good in the mid-4s. Offensively, Minnesota's been the better team. They're 13th. Philadelphia's moved up, I think, slightly recently. They're 20th right now. They've struggled a lot of the season, though, and they're not as good on the road. Philadelphia, I don't think they have the starting pitching edge here. When I first looked at this, though, I was like, this is a very bad pitching matchup. To me, my first instinct about this game was to look at the over, and maybe that is still the right way. Andrew Painter is pitching for Philly. Not a good season for him, man. I think he's been up and down between the minors and the majors. I don't know if there might have been an injury in there, too. This is his rookie season, I'm pretty sure, and has not gone well. 6.27 ERA, 1.53 whip. He's been somewhat better on the road in some ways, 5.95 road ERA, but a higher opponent batting average on the road. He's been maybe a little bit better since I think they brought him back up from the minors after about a month, and he's had a couple of decent starts in here. He's been better at least, but the walks are still a problem here. His hit rate is still a problem over the course of the season. He's allowed too many home runs. The walk rate's too high. The strikeout rate isn't even really that good, so there's still really not a lot to like here. Bad strikeout walk ratio. Strikeouts per 9, not impressive, so not much to like, other than Minnesota hasn't seen him before, so that might be a little bit of an extra advantage to him because he has the unfamiliarity there, but I can't trust Painter here. Dean Kremer is pitching for Minnesota, and I think he might be the better starter here. Well, I mean, probably he is, even though maybe Painter has some ceiling there. Like maybe he starts to improve because he's really, really young. Kremer, we know what he is at this point, right? Like he's 30, he's established. We know he's a mediocre pitcher. 5.25 ERA this year doesn't really tell the whole story. 1.17 whip is actually pretty good. And he's been a good home pitcher this year, 3.13 home ERA. But he mostly pitched with Baltimore. Like his whole season pretty much was with Baltimore. It was a short season. He pitched a little bit in April, and then I think he was injured, and then he came back and pitched throughout July, and he was not good in July. Baltimore traded him away, and he's actually been okay in his 2 starts with Minnesota. Was decent at Kansas City, and then he was really good against his former team, Baltimore. Like I said, I think he was motivated to go up against the team that got rid of him. He really shredded Baltimore. It was a 7-inning, 1-hit performance there. 1 run allowed, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. He might regress a little bit from that because Kremer is not that good. He is good against Philly, though. In 41 at-bats, 195 average, 535 OPS allowed, 9-4 strikeout walk ratio. Now, Painter remains kind of a mystery. I don't know what we're going to get out of Kremer after that big performance of his in his last outing, although at least for him, he didn't throw that many pitches in that outing. Minnesota has the motivation here, trying to avoid the sweep, and I think they do have the starting pitching edge here. Kremer over Painter, even though it's probably not the better of the 2 jobs. I don't know, man. I don't know. He's a milkman. Like myself. A milk sommelier, milk connoisseur, Dean Kremer. Although, yeah, I don't love Kremer because he played for the Israel team in the World Baseball Classic, but whatever. My lead in this game would be Minnesota in the first 5. I think they do have the better starter here, better matchup numbers, and the motivation. So that is the way I would play this. You got to avoid their bullpen. Philly is a small favorite, basically a pick-em price for the game, but Minnesota will likely be a favorite in the first 5. I don't know what the price will be. It might be minus 120, minus 130, but I think that is the right way to play this is moneyline Minnesota first 5. 84% of tickets, 90% of the cash on Philly. So the money slightly indicating on Philly, but they're very public, so I don't really know if it means that much. Money is also backing the over pretty strongly. 64% of tickets, 90% of the cash on the over 9.5. It's above that key number, so you have to lay the hook if you're going to do that, the 9.5. But I still agree with the over. I think it's mostly bad pitching throughout that game. Both bullpens are bad. Generally, I don't think either starter is really that good. So the over, my first instinct in that game, I think does still make some sense in that one as well. All right. St. Louis and the Cubs, which is an ABC game, so that's nationally televised. The nationally televised afternoon game. Big divisional matchup, kind of. I mean, St. Louis is refusing to go away, so there is that. And they might have extra motivation because they're playing against a team that's above them in the standings. Cubs trying to maintain a wild card spot, but it's highly likely they're going to get one. They have a really good record, so I don't see the Cubs not making the playoffs. I think that would be a bit insane. These teams are split. The Cubs lost yesterday mostly because Joshua Baez, I think is his name. I think he's from Boston as well. The Cardinals prospect they called up hit 3 home runs in his major league debut. I don't know if he's going to continue to be that good, but that was one of the best major league debuts for a hitter that we've ever seen. So that was one of the big storylines yesterday. St. Louis generally not a good offense, though. St. Louis also not the better bullpen here. They used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Cubs also did, but a little bit lighter usage. And the Cubs are the better bullpen. They are 10th here, and St. Louis is 21st. Hitting-wise, the Cubs have been better as well. They're 3rd, even though I know St. Louis is the talk of the town right now, or St. Louis is the talk of Major League Baseball, really, because of that Baez performance. But I would, bring that level of hype down a bit because their offense still isn't good. They're 26. Even if he improves their offense a bit, he's not going to hit 3 home runs in every game. Starting pitching, I think, does go to the Cubs here as well. So I think the Cubs have an advantage, basically everywhere in this game. Bullpen, hitting, and starting pitching. No shade to Hunter Dobbins pitching for the Cardinals here. I like him, but he's a very mediocre pitcher. 3.4 ERA looks pretty good. 1.31 whip is not that good. He's been basically the same home and away, so he is pretty consistent. He's basically not going to kill you for the most part. When he goes out there, he'll give you somewhere around 5 innings and allow a couple runs, maybe a few runs, mediocre stuff, but generally that's what he'll give you, like a mediocre start. He's got an okay hit rate here, does walk too many guys. His strikeout rate is okay as well. A lot of mediocre stuff here, kind of a low strikeout walk ratio because the walk number's high. Strikeout per 9 isn't too bad here, so at least there is that. Against the Cubs, he has not been good, though. 40 at-bats against them, 300 average allowed, 817 OPS, 9-1 strikeout walk ratio is the only good thing in those numbers there. Edward Cabrera pitching for the Cubs. I forgot about him, man. He's been good throughout his career, but he has not had a good season with the Cubs. However, he's been injured for a while. And, veteran pitcher, which he is, I like veteran pitchers coming back from the injured list, man, because they've worked their way back. Usually they're pumped to get out there to give you a good start. I know some guys don't like it, and they worry about, the guy's going to be shaky. But I think if he's gone through all his rehab and he's about to start, he's a veteran, he's kind of done this thing before, I think they tend to actually give you a better start. They're excited to get back out there. They want to do well. A lot of times the team gets a little bit extra motivated because, we're getting one of our starters back, a guy who's had a good career. Cabrera's career has been better than what his numbers look like this year. 5.1 ERA, 1.4 whip. That's pretty ugly. And I know he's going from being in Miami, who had a more pitcher-friendly park, to playing in Wrigley here. But I think Cabrera should be better than what he's shown so far. He hasn't been that good at home, though. 5.71 home ERA. This just Wrigley hasn't really been his thing, man. And before he went down, he was having some walk issues, stuff like that. His hit rate was not great. It was average for the most part. Walk rate was a little bit high. Strikeout rate was just okay. So not great here. Strikeout walk ratio was a little bit down from what it was last year. Strikeouts per 9 a bit down from. This has been like why I like him is because he's been a really good strikeout pitcher throughout his career, at least. This year, his strikeout rate's gone down, so that doesn't look great. He's facing a pretty weak St. Louis offense here, but St. Louis's offense, they've done okay against him. He doesn't really have much of an advantage over them. I wouldn't say they have much of an advantage over him either, though. They have 6 hitters who have faced him, 28 at-bats, 286 average, 739 OPS. So that OPS is lower than that 750 cutoff that I look for by a little bit. So they haven't really hit him for much power. Burleson does have a home run off him. 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Yeah, I mean, I think my lean would be to the Cubs here. After losing yesterday, possible bounce back there. I think the Cubs do have the better starter on the mound. They should have the better bullpen and hitting. The money doesn't agree with that one. 83% of tickets, 69% of the cash on the Cubs. It is a TV game, so a lot of times there's more public influx on those TV games because people like to bet games that they're going to watch. So there's going to be a little bit more public money on this game, and it's a divisional matchup, with decent markets going on in this game, like decent TV markets or whatever in these two cities. 83% of tickets, 69% of the cash on the Cubs. Like I was saying, minus 170 is about the price on them. It is kind of a high price, which maybe isn't totally warranted. So the money is coming in against the Cubs. I think the Cubs will get the win. I don't love the price. I think if I was going to play it, I would probably be making like a -1 run line with the Cubs there to get that price down. I definitely do not want to do it, though. All right, I'll be right back. 5 more games to talk about, then WNBA as well. 5 more baseball games. 1 more play in here. You might be able to guess what it is, and it's a very Toad play, I will tell you that. And then WNBA, I'm avoiding, but I will talk about it as I usually do. I'll be right back. Yep, inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm going to burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. All right. Colorado, San Francisco is the next game as we get into the later evening slate of games here. These teams have split the series. I was kind of wrong about yesterday. I mean, the better pitcher won yesterday. Logan Webb was able to pitch well in that game, even though typically he's not good against Colorado. But you saw my handicap yesterday. I struggled to kind of figure that game out. But maybe I should have just simplified it. Oh, yeah, Webb is better than Lorenzen. Let's not make it hard. But the matchup numbers were kind of against it. But Webb was able to put in another good start. This matchup doesn't exactly have great pitching here, even though I've said some decent things about Hughes. He is not doing as well recently. I don't like Colorado's bullpen. They used 2 guys yesterday, but they're not good. San Francisco's bullpen is not really that much better, and they used 2 guys as well. I don't like the bullpens, like I said. Colorado 27th in bullpen. San Francisco 24th. Yeah, they've been surprisingly bad out of the bullpen this year. Both these teams are going nowhere, so they're just playing out the stretch, although they'll probably both try to win. You know, it's a divisional series. San Francisco's 19th in offense, so they've kind of dropped off again. Like I said, they're not good at home offensively. It's a pitcher-friendly park here, and their offensive numbers got kind of overrated by some big road performances they had. What are we talking? Colorado, is obviously the better offense. They're 5th offensively. Gabriel Hughes, like I said, is getting the start for Colorado. He looked pretty good for a while, but now his ERA is up to 5.61, although his whip is 1.28, so his whip still does indicate his ERA shouldn't be this bad, but he's been bad on the road, which is kind of insane. Like, he's been significantly better at home in Coors Field, all right. 7.8 road ERA. Not good. He got beat up in his last start. That's why. Arizona, horrible start in Arizona, skewing his numbers, though he wasn't very good at home against Tampa the start before that. But really in that start, I think he actually got a little bit unlucky. So he's actually been fairly good, except that last start was really bad. And his walk rate has kind of gone up recently. But overall numbers, his hit rate is okay. His walk number is not really that bad. He's getting a decent amount of strikeouts here. So he's got an okay-ish strikeout-walk ratio. It's a little bit below what I would really want. Strikeout per 9, not too bad. So I don't think he's as bad as his ERA makes him look. I think that one start is skewing it. I got some concerns, though. San Francisco has seen him now, so the unfamiliarity isn't there because his first start of his career was actually against San Francisco in Colorado. He only went 3 innings, but he shut them out for 3 innings. He had a pretty good outing there. So San Francisco doesn't have good numbers against him. 8 at-bats, they have 125 average, 347 OPS, 1-to-1 strikeout-walk ratio. Only 7 of their current hitters have faced him. But unfamiliarity is a thing, man. So I think the unfamiliarity that he had the first time around helped him in that start. But now that San Francisco has seen him once, maybe they'll do better against him this time. So that's one thing you have to be concerned about, is that second time a lineup faces a guy, they might do better against him after they know what to expect. Blade Tidwell is going to be pitching for San Francisco. I thought he was kind of a converted reliever, but he's still young, and it looks like they might just kind of be seeing how it goes, turning him into a starter. He does have good numbers, 2.78 ERA, 1.1 whip. He's been really good at home, 0.71 ERA at home. It's a very small sample size, though. He was mostly pitching out of the bullpen early in the season in April, and then I'm assuming he was in the minors probably, and then they brought him back up in August. And he's made 2 starts, and he's actually been good. He's given up 2 or fewer earned runs in both of them. He's got at least 5 innings in both of them. 9 strikeouts, 2 walks in 10 2/3 innings, 10 hits allowed. 1 at Texas, which is pitcher-friendly. At home was the other one, which is also pitcher-friendly, but it was against Houston, who's a pretty good offense, and he did pretty well there as well. The San Francisco lost both of those games because they can't back him up with anything else. Like, their bullpen's not good, their offense isn't good. But Tidwell has actually been okay. Looking at his overall numbers, strikeout rate is okay. Doesn't really walk many guys. It doesn't look like his hit rate is okay. So he's not really putting many guys on base. Strikeout walk ratio is actually pretty good because his walk number is so low. Strikeout rate is not really that high, though. Colorado's never faced him, so he might actually do well here against Colorado. As far as the fact that he's unfamiliar to Colorado here. I mean, I don't know what to do with this game, to be honest. This is one of the most unpredictable games on the board. Like, I could see both young pitchers still doing well here. I could see that potentially not happening. If you're going to play this game, I don't know if you should definitively pick Tidwell must start here. Like, Hughes is almost definitely going to start. Tidwell probably will, because that's what he's been doing since they called him back up. So I think they both will start, but if you want to actually make the play and be safe about that and want your play to actually definitely count, probably you pick Hughes must start and don't pick a starter for San Francisco. But I think Tidwell will start and be out there for probably around 5 innings as long as he's pitching all right. The money is coming in towards Colorado. 78% of tickets on San Francisco, 78% of the cash on Colorado. San Francisco around minus 130 or so. I don't have a good read on the side at all. Money's saying Colorado. I would say if you do that, you should exclude their bullpen, though. If you do Colorado, you should just take them in the first 5. You'll probably still get them as an underdog. Money is coming in on the over at 8.5. If you go with the over, you should go full game because the bullpens are bad and would definitely help with the over. I was actually kind of thinking an under in the first 5, though, and the total isn't really that high. It's basically sitting around 8. I think both starting pitchers actually might not do too badly here. First 5 under might make some sense here in that one. You're probably looking at like a 4.5. I'm not going to actually do it, but that might be a way to lean. That game is really difficult to figure out. Texas at the A's. The A's won the first game of the series. Texas bounced back with a win yesterday. Texas is trying to make the playoffs here, man. Playoffs. They're right there in the mix there for the wild card spot. I think they might also be one of the teams that's tied. I think they are. I forgot to mention Texas. I think they're in that whatever it is, 5-6-way tie in the American League for the last wild card. I think Texas is in that mix as well. So they do have motivation. Texas has more motivation than the A's do. A's still might want to play spoiler, though, against a divisional rival, or whatever you want to call it, divisional foe. Texas used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. The A's used 2, but the A's are the lesser bullpen. Texas has been a disappointment from the bullpen this year. They're ranked 20th. The A's are still worse. I think they're the worst bullpen in baseball. They're ranked 29th out of 30 based on whip. They're somehow beating Kansas City in that stat, but they're, I think, the worst bullpen. The A's, mediocre offense at this point, 15th. Texas is worse than that, though. Texas 21st, although this is a hitter-friendly ballpark here at the A's stadium. I think Texas does have the better starting pitcher going here. Cody Bradford, if you look at his career, he pitched back in 2023, 2024, and he actually put up some pretty good numbers for Texas. Then he was hurt and missed all of last year. He's only made 2 starts so far with Texas this year, but his numbers were really good in 2024. We'll see if he is able to come back from injury, but he seemed to have pretty good command numbers back when he was pitching before. 2.38 ERA this year, 1.15 whip. That's pretty good so far. Wasn't as good in his road start, 3.86 road ERA. Still pitched fairly well in both outings, though. He had a kind of shortened outing, didn't make it 5 innings in the first one at home, but he shut out San Francisco for 4 1/3. Followed that up with a 7-inning, 3-run performance at Anaheim, but only struck out 1 guy, which is, a bit curious because he's not a horrible strikeout pitcher typically. So I don't know if I love that low strikeout number, but it is 1 start, so how can you really gauge that much from that? Had a decent strikeout rate in the other start. I don't know how we gauge this, man. You know what I mean? He's been good in the past, and that's kind of what I'm looking at here because we just don't have a big sample size to look at yet. You got to look at, how much of a fly ball pitcher is he, though? And he is kind of a fly ball pitcher, which isn't good in the A's stadium. So that's one concern with him is he might allow some home runs. He's been good against the A's, though, when he's faced them. They have 5 hitters who have faced him, 23 at-bats, 174 average, 588 OPS allowed, 6.2 strikeout walk ratio. So Bradford actually has put up good numbers against the A's. A's have Jacob Lopez going, and he's massively struggled here, especially at home. Has a 5.38 ERA overall this year. 1.56 whip is really bad. He's been bad at home, which you can understand why. It's not a good pitching park, but 5.87 home ERA, not good. Although his opponent batting average, believe it or not, is actually better at home. But, yeah, it's been a struggle. However, he's actually been pretty good over his last 3 starts. Got the walk rate kind of down, hasn't allowed many runs, allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all 3 of them, 2 of them at home as well. So he's actually pitching better, had a good start last time out against Tampa Bay. So he's actually in better form right now, but I don't know if we can really trust that because his overall numbers are so ugly. He's a fly ball pitcher, which doesn't play well in this stadium. He's allowed a lot of home runs. His hit rate is too high. His walk rate is too high. His strikeout rate is just okay. Not a lot to like. The walk rate is so high that even with an okay strikeout rate, strikeout per 9 in the 8s, which, by the way, dropped from last year. Last year, he was actually an impressive strikeout pitcher. This year, not so much. By the way, he was on Tampa Bay to start his career, so maybe that pumped him up and got him motivated for that start against Tampa Bay, although he probably pitched against them last year, too, I would imagine, but maybe not. But, yeah, his strikeout walk ratio has gone down this year as well. The walk rate has just been a real problem for him. And again, his strikeout rate has gone down as well. But yeah, the strikeout walk ratio in the 1s is really not good. However, he's actually been good against Texas in his career in 18 at-bats. It's not a huge sample, but most of the hitters have faced him. 222 average, 816 OPS allowed, 5.9 strikeout walk ratio, though. Actually, I take that back. I was looking at the batting average. The batting average is low, but he's allowed some power and a lot of walks to them. So the OPS is not good, and the walk ratio is not good. So I take that back. So looking at this game, Texas is a possible lean here. I mean, I think you get the motivation with Texas. I think you get the better starting pitcher. Probably you get the better bullpen as well. They got 80% of the tickets, so they're public. The public knows Texas is going to be the more motivated team, most likely, and just they have the better record, so the public will come in that way. 80% of tickets, 85% of the cash on Texas. Maybe the money's joining the public in this case. They dropped a little bit from the opener. They're around minus 130, but I think that is a way to look in this game is Texas. And I probably do also agree with the over, although the total's at 10, which is a little bit high, but it's right around what you expect from an A's game, but still a double-digit total. The money actually coming in on the under in the game. I'm not so sure about that. Although Bradford, I think, did have good matchup numbers when I looked. Lopez is bad at home. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Texas is probably the better way to play that game, really, but I don't have a very strong opinion on it. Kansas City and Anaheim. Anaheim got a good start from Reed Detmers yesterday. I mentioned that I liked Anaheim in the first 5 in the game yesterday, and that would have been a push, though, because Anaheim scored their only run late, but Reed Detmers was awesome in the game yesterday, so Anaheim got the win. These teams have split this series so far. It's an ugly series. I mean, both teams are just playing out the stretch. They're bad teams. They're both bad offenses. They're both bad bullpens. Kansas City used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Anaheim used 1 just behind Detmers. I think went 8 innings in that game. Royals are ranked dead last in bullpen. I think they're the second worst bullpen, though, in actuality, behind or only ahead of the A's. Anaheim not that much better at 22nd, but they are better at least than Kansas City. Offensively, Kansas City is a little bit better. They're 22nd, which is still not good. Anaheim 27th, and Anaheim not good offensively at home. Noah Cameron getting the start for Kansas City. He's the more established pitcher in the matchup today. He's been okay this year, not as good as he was last year. 4.45 ERA, although 1.29 whip, not too bad. His numbers are all right here, just not as good as what he did last year. Strikeout walk ratio is actually about the same, though, and his strikeouts per 9 have actually increased this year. So last year, yeah, I mean, that basically just means last year he was, I don't know what that means this year. Excuse me. This year it means he's more hittable this year. Yeah, because last year his whip was better, right? Yeah, so the only thing that wasn't factored into those other stats was the hits. And that is true. He's been a little bit more hittable this year, which isn't that great. His walk rate is okay. Strikeout rate is all right. Cameron, he's been pitching all right recently. Last 4 starts have been okay. Last one wasn't as good, but it was against the Dodgers, so I'm not going to really knock him for that. He's been good against Anaheim in the past in 19 at-bats, 211 average, 691 OPS, but a 6.5 strikeout walk ratio is a little bit questionable. 3 of those walks are Trout, though, so I think he kind of just pitches around him. Anaheim only has 6 hitters who have faced him. Overall, I think Cameron might pitch well here. I mean, he's not a bad pitcher, and Anaheim's not a good offense. Ryan Johnson is getting the start for the Angels. He's still a really young guy. He's definitely struggled in what I believe is his rookie season here. Or no, he actually pitched out of the bullpen last year. Didn't do well in that role either, but a small sample size. This year, 6.71 ERA, 1.56 whip, and we have a bigger sample size here. He hasn't pitched well, although he's been better at home, 5.34 home ERA, so he is significantly better at home. He's not going deep into his outings, man. He allowed fewer runs in his last 2 outings, which isn't too bad, but his walk rate is still way too high. He's not going deep into these outings. There's not a lot to like here with him. He's got a high hit rate, high walk rate, kind of low strikeout rate. None of that looks good. Strikeout walk ratio, therefore, is not good. It's below 2, which is really not good. Strikeout per 9 doesn't look very good either. It was better as a relief pitcher. Does have unfamiliarity. Kansas City has never faced him before. But with a guy that's just not pitching well, I don't think the unfamiliarity is that helpful. You know what I mean? The offense is going to be more likely to figure him out. So I think looking at Kansas City, first 5 to bounce back and get the win and win this series might be the way to look here. I think Cameron's the better starter. The money seems to agree. 70% of tickets, 83% of the cash on Kansas City. They're a small favorite. They dropped from an opener of minus 130 basically down into the minus 110 range here. You're going to have to pay more if you do it in the first 5, but I think it'll still be a reasonable money line, maybe close to minus 130 or so, but I think that's how to play this because Kansas City's bullpen is just a disaster. So I would play Kansas City first 5, just play Cameron to outpitch Johnson. I think that's the way I would play that game. Milwaukee and LA. We're going to have a play in this one again. I gave out a play yesterday in this game, and we got it right with the Milwaukee side. Let's go back to the series again, man. Why not? You probably know what this is. Under 7.5. You know I like the pitching matchup in this game. That's what we're going to go with here in one of the big games of the day. This is, surprisingly, this is not the NBC night game, although the NBC night game is an interesting matchup too. This, I thought, was going to be the night game, but it is not. They did have a primetime TV game last night, though, so maybe that's why the schedule makers were like, oh, let's not give them 2 in a row. But you never know. I mean, the Dodgers seem to get that benefit a lot. If it even is a benefit, I don't know. It's a benefit to their fan base, I guess. Dodgers only use one guy out of the bullpen, so I'm fine with backing their bullpen, even though it's not the greatest bullpen. They're not that bad. Milwaukee used 2 guys, but not really any of their better relievers yesterday, and they're a good bullpen, so I'm fine with backing the bullpens here. Milwaukee's ranked 7th, Dodgers 12th, but they both have an ERA in the 3s. Milwaukee, I think, is one of the best 4 or 5 bullpens. So, yeah, I'm okay with leaving the bullpens in this equation. We're definitely fading some good offenses. Dodgers are number 2. Milwaukee is number, where are they? 11. Milwaukee, not as much of a power hitting team, although both offenses are definitely capable. But again, I think good pitching stifles good hitting. And we've had low scoring games in the last 2 games here, man. The first game of the series landed on 9, which I think just went over the total. I think it was 8.5 in that game. Last 2 games have both gone way under, and this definitely looks like an under to me in this one. So that's what we're going with. Logan Henderson pitching for the Brewers. I'm going to continue to back him, man, because people still don't know his name. He's under the radar. And he's pitched really well for Milwaukee between last year and this year. 2.88 ERA, 0.91 whip. That's some really good stuff, man. And he's still young. He's been only a little bit worse on the road. 3.26 road ERA. Doesn't concern me a whole lot. He's still striking a lot of guys out. He's not really walking many guys. Not giving up that many runs. This all looks pretty good to me, obviously. He's allowed more than 2 earned runs only 2 times, excuse me, although one was his last time out at San Diego. I think we won on the under in that game, if I'm not mistaken. That was the Henderson-Mize game. He still had a lot of strikeouts there. He wasn't bad. He got a little bit unlucky, in my opinion, giving up 2 home runs there. Overall, good numbers here. Low hit rate, low walk rate, high strikeout rate, everything good. Nice. His strikeout walk ratio is really nice. 6.3. That's really good. Strikeout per 9. These are like borderline elite numbers. Strikeout per 9 in the 11s like it was last year. Yeah, that's good. And against the Dodgers, he has faced them a little bit, 12 at-bats, and they have not done much against him. 167 average, 500 OPS. The only issue here is the walks. Like a small issue, I guess. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks here. Small sample size. They have no extra base hits against him. Yeah, I mean, you could argue that maybe because they've seen him before, maybe they'll do better against him this time. I don't even remember when that was. So I don't think they've seen him for at least quite a while. Although, let me see. I could be wrong about that, but I don't even know if it was this year, really. Actually, it was. It was back in May, so it wasn't that recent. He pitched well in that when he shut the Dodgers out in Milwaukee for 5 innings. Did have those 3 walks, but had a lot of strikeouts there. So that was that outing. But, yeah, it wasn't that recent. So he's a good enough pitcher that he should be able to overcome whether the Dodgers are familiar with him or not at this point. And we're backing Tarik Skubal on the other side here, which seems like an obvious move. 2.93 ERA, 0.93 whip. We know he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. The Dodgers made waves by getting him at the trade deadline. He hasn't been as good of a home pitcher this year, 3.71 home ERA, but his opponent batting average is still really low, both home and away. Most of that was with Detroit. He's made 2 starts so far, I believe, with the Dodgers, and he did pretty well in both of them. He went at least 5 innings in both of them, allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in both of them, had 12 strikeouts, 4 walks. Not elite by any means, but good. And one of them was at Wrigley Field, which is not really that easy to do. And then he was, he was a little bit worse against Kansas City here at home. Maybe that's a little bit concerning, but whatever. I mean, I just think maybe he just went out and went through the motions in that one. I don't know. But I think he'll step it up for a big game like this. Milwaukee also has not done well against him in the past. They have 71 at-bats against him. He has a ridiculous 29-3 strikeout walk ratio against them, a 197 average allowed, which is really low for how big the sample size is, 483 OPS allowed. Yeah, Milwaukee has not done well against Skubal, so we'll take the under in this one. And I believe the market is agreeing with this, or it was at least earlier in the day. We're still getting market agreement with the Tampa Bay play, by the way. Let me see. No more market agreement on the under in San Diego and Cleveland, though, which looked like I wanted to do that earlier, but I decided to not do that. But this will be a play, and the money looks like it strongly agrees with this under. You might have to go under 7 now. I found a good price on this earlier. I mean, this is the thing, man. It sucks because I do this show and the market moves even though it's only been like an hour since I found this number, you know. I would still do it at under 7. I think you can find about a minus 120 out there probably somewhere. On the under 7.5, I mean. At worst, it'll be under 7, but I would still be okay with doing that. 60% of tickets on the under, 94% of the cash on the under. So the money agrees with this. But 7.5 is, of course, better because 7 is a key number. So that's a key half run there. Because if it's a 3-3 tie, you got to break the tie. I would pay up to probably about minus 125 maybe to get the under 7.5. Maybe minus 122 or something like that. It looks like you can find that number out there, though. 87% of tickets, 95% of the cash on the Dodgers. They're about minus 180. I don't have a great feel for that. I think, if anything, it's one of those situations where if you think it's an underdog type of game, and Milwaukee, like I said yesterday, has been really good at the Dodgers recently. I think they've won like 6 of their last 7 or 7 of their last 8 at the Dodgers. And you're getting Milwaukee as a big underdog price, and they probably do have the better bullpen, and their starter might be good enough to duel Skubal here at the very least. I think another lean towards Milwaukee kind of makes sense here as well. Getting Milwaukee as a pretty big underdog here, like a run line play, that seems to make a lot of sense. Like plus 1.5 on the Milwaukee run line, but I still like the over better. So, or excuse the under. Excuse me. Don't listen to me. The under, obviously, under. That is the play. It's on the board there. But yes, the market agrees with me. Under. Milwaukee and the Dodgers. You know me, I like taking a lot of unders as well. So that looks like an under that I would be on. And indeed, yes, I am. Seattle and Houston is the NBC game at night here. This is an interesting one. It's a playoff battle. Houston still needs to maintain their lead in the AL West here, and or at least make sure they're going to be a wild card. Seattle is in desperation mode here, like I said, trying to win here, they could potentially still get the division, but they're closer to the wild card. I think Seattle's maybe only 2 games out of the wild card or something like that, which seems maybe 3, which seems kind of crazy because their record doesn't look good. They've had a very bad offense this year. Seattle could have won both games in the series. First game was an extra inning win for Houston, despite being in a return home spot, and then the Mariners were able to win yesterday. Both games were ridiculously high scoring, which seems a little bit insane to me. My first instinct looking at the starting pitching in this game was under in this one, and I probably do still agree with that sentiment, but I have some reservations about it for sure. Seattle's bullpen, they've actually been kind of struggling recently. They used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. I still think they're pretty good, though. Houston only used 1. Houston has completely turned their bullpen season around. They're ranked 11th. They're fine out of the bullpen. Seattle's 17th, and their ERA has gone up to 4. I've been saying they're a good bullpen, which I still think they are all year. Yeah, I would still be okay with backing the bullpens here if you are going to be looking towards an under or something like that. Houston is 7th offensively. They've been good offensively. Seattle has not. Seattle is 28th. Seattle's had some major offensive issues here. So that does help if you're looking at an under here. We're not in Seattle here. We're in Houston, so we're in a more hitter-friendly park than Seattle. Brian Wu is pitching for Seattle. I like Wu. I think he's like a borderline elite pitcher, in my opinion. You saw what he did the last couple of seasons. He had great numbers. This year, not really as much. 4.15 ERA is by far the worst that he's had over that stretch, except in his kind of shortened rookie season. That is kind of similar to those numbers. But he has a 1.1 whip, which is still a lot better than that season. Not as good as it was the last 2 seasons where he had a sub-1 whip. And it's because he hasn't pitched well on the road, man. His whip is still good overall. He's still good overall, but he's had major issues on the road this year. He pitches really, really well at home, which makes sense because Seattle's a very pitcher-friendly park. But Wu is such a good pitcher. It's insane to see how bad he's been on the road. 6.22 road ERA, and that's my concern. And I mentioned that last time. And I should have just gone with it, the under, which I think was against the Yankees maybe. He had a really good start in that one. So he was good on the road in his last start, and that was my main concern with that under lean. I still leaned that way. Should have actually put it on my card, especially because the under I gave out in that series was horrible. Wu, though, I mean, almost a 300 batting average allowed on the road. This isn't good. Although last time out, he was good against the Yankees. It was only a 5-inning performance, though, but he did shut them out for 5 innings. He was a little bit inefficient with his pitches, but his entire pitching line was pretty good otherwise. He's been pitching well this month, at least, over his last 2 starts, but he was kind of struggling before that towards the end of July. And again, it was road starts that were doing the damage to him. Like, he's really only had a couple of good road starts this season, although one of them was that last outing. But I still don't really, I can't trust him on the road right now, man. That's the issue I have with him. I like him. I think he's a very good pitcher. He's got a low hit rate here. He doesn't really walk anybody. His strikeout rate is still pretty decent here. Overall, still has a pretty good strikeout walk ratio, though not as good as it was the last 2 years. And actually, he's kind of regressed since his very excellent 2024. His strikeout per 9 is similar, and actually, it went up last year, and it's actually closer to last year than it was in that 2024 campaign. He's not a huge strikeout pitcher, but decent. Numbers against Houston are good, as you could probably guess. Well, maybe you shouldn't assume, but 90 at-bats, 200 average, 594 OPS allowed, 29-6 strikeout walk ratio. Those are good numbers, obviously. You know, I still would be okay with backing Wu in this one. I have my hesitations with it. I don't really want to actually make it a play because it's Wu on the road, and that really concerns me. Hunter Brown is on the other side for Houston. I think he's good. He's got a lot of talent. His issue has been the wildness, the walks. He's got a 3.68 ERA, 1.27 whip, and that whip is a little bit high because of the walks, man. Last year he had an excellent season, though, but still had some wildness, but he was just basically like unhittable almost last year and had a lot of strikeouts, which is usually what he does. He's trying to bounce back from having some injuries and stuff, but overall he's had an okay season here. He's been a little bit worse at home, though. 4.17 home ERA. His walk issues have been a concern at home, and there's still an issue. He's still walking too many guys. His last couple outings don't inspire that much confidence, even though they were okay outings. Houston lost both of them. Like, he didn't allow that many runs, but Houston lost both of them. He only made it 5 innings last time out, and they were against Toronto and San Francisco, and the San Francisco game was in San Francisco. That's concerning because those are bad offenses, and that was a pitcher-friendly park in San Francisco. So Brown, you expect him to come out and kind of dominate offenses like that, and that's not really what he did. He's got a low hit rate. He's still really hard to hit. He still strikes out a lot of guys. That's all good. The walks are the issue. That's what we're looking at here. And it's been such an issue that his strikeout walk ratio has gone way down. It was at least above 3 the last couple seasons, or really throughout his career. This year it's below 2. So he's having some major walk issues here. Strikeout rate is still pretty good here, though. Like I said, Brown against the Mariners actually has not done that well in 91 at-bats, 264 average, 780 OPS allowed, 26-15 strikeout walk ratio. So again, the walks coming into play as an issue here. I think Wu is the better pitcher, man. Like, he's the guy that puts fewer guys on base. He doesn't walk guys. Very, very concerning, though, his road numbers. Very concerning. But last year was good. Last outing, was good for him on the road. My first instinct on this game was the under. The total's at 8. 60% of tickets on the over. 87% of the cash on the under. Money is coming in on the under. Looking at who the pitchers are, I still don't disagree with that. Like, I think bullpens are all right here. Both starting pitchers are generally good pitchers. I still think the under is a decent opinion here. The better way might be Seattle, believe it or not. And I don't know, maybe Seattle first 5 if you don't want to rely on their bullpen, because maybe they don't have a bullpen edge anymore here. Seattle first 5. I think you get motivation with Seattle because they're just in total desperation mode. And you saw the matchup numbers. The matchup numbers do support Wu as the better pitcher here. It's just, I don't know if I could do it with his road numbers. But the initial move seemed to be towards Seattle. Houston was minus 134, and they're down to minus 116 now. 73% of tickets, 83% of the cash on Houston. So the money looks like maybe it's coming back in on Houston a little bit. I don't know. Seattle, you'll probably get them. If you play Seattle first 5, though, it's probably going to be maybe Seattle as a favorite in the first 5, though. But I think that might be the better way to play this. Seattle first 5, but I do still agree with the under. But, yeah, it's not going to make the cut for me. No thank you. And that is the baseball board here. Mr. Pinsey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. And then we have WNBA, which I'm not interested in these WNBA games, and 2 of them are pretty ugly games. Chicago at Seattle being one of them. A couple of early evening games here. Seattle, bad team. I'm mad at them because they were not able to get the job done for us in their last game. They were not good enough against Portland. They're staying at home. Their only win in their last, 12-game stretch or whatever this was, 13-game stretch, was against the team they're playing today, Chicago. So Chicago actually just came in here to Seattle, and Seattle won, and that was their only win since June 27th, or no, since July 6th, my mistake. So they definitely have the ability to beat Chicago, because Chicago's not that good, but Chicago might be able to make the adjustments, man, and actually show up and change things. Chicago did beat Seattle back in Chicago on July 15th. I don't know. I don't have much of a read on this, though. Seattle's coming off kind of a disappointing loss to a bad Portland team. They do have Dallas on deck, which might be a little bit of a look ahead. As far as Chicago is concerned, if this would even load, Chicago is already on the Pacific Coast, so they don't have to adjust to the time zone here. So that's good for them. They're not at that disadvantage, which, by the way, they were at that disadvantage when they lost in Seattle, and I mentioned that. I liked Seattle in that one. So that's interesting. It was a really bad spot for Chicago in that game. Chicago had a close call with Indiana, which I gave out as a winner on the show prior to that. The last winner I think I had in the WNBA, although my plays are kind of sporadic. Chicago then had to go to Seattle. They had to adjust to the Pacific time zone, and they had Golden State on deck. So I thought it was a bad spot. It was a sandwich spot. The only reason I didn't give out Seattle in that game, unfortunately, was that Seattle was also in a bad spot, returning home from the road trip. So I didn't like either side there. But Chicago got caught, I think, in the sandwich. Part of the reason they lost. They went to Golden State, and they got blown out. They might bounce back from that. They do have New York next, which is a bigger game, but than Seattle here, but they did just lose here in the same venue to Seattle before then. You can see that it was a worse spot, like having to adjust to the time zone and in a sandwich. Neither of those are the case here in this game. I mean, if you want to argue it's a sandwich because it's between Golden State and New York, yeah, it's between 2 bigger games, but they got annihilated by Golden State, so I don't consider this to be a sandwich because it was not one of those huge effort games that you're really going to be in a letdown spot after. So, yeah, I think looking at this game overall, I would lean to Chicago. The money doesn't agree with me at all, though, and they're heavily public. They moved up from a 1-point favorite to a 2.5-point favorite, though. I don't know if there are some injuries going on in Seattle. I don't know. 90% of the tickets, 88% of the cash on Chicago. So they're a public side with less of the money coming in on them. So the market read does not like Chicago. I would slightly lean that way, but it's not a strong opinion at all. Indiana and Atlanta on ESPN, which is an ESPN doubleheader. This is the only good game on the WNBA slate, if you even want to call it that. It's 2 of the better teams in the league, at least. Atlanta is coming off 2 straight wins. They just annihilated Connecticut on the road, and a lot of times I do not like to play on a team that's coming off a blowout win like that because it makes them look too good. It was against a really bad Connecticut team, though, and that was only a single-game road trip. And they're not going to overlook Indiana, you know. These teams, most teams don't like Indiana because of Sophie Cunningham and whatever, and Caitlin Clark. It's all pretty ridiculous. Indiana has some other players here. Like Kelsey Mitchell, whatever her name is, she's having a really good season for Indiana. This Indiana and Boston as well is a good player for them. They have a lot of good players on this Indiana team. Indiana's coming off a couple of nice wins against New York and Dallas. Now, they're starting a road trip. They have a little bit less time off than Indiana does, I think. But usually starting a road trip, you are focused. I don't know how big of a deal that was beating Dallas in that last game. I think Dallas was a little bit injury-plagued in that game as well. Indiana, I think, did pull away late in that game, though. I think it was kind of a closer game than the final score looked. Let me make sure of that. Yeah, it was. Until like the fourth quarter, it was pretty close, and then Indiana pulled away. Maybe Indiana's in the slightly worse spot here, although usually you're focused in the first game of a road trip. But Indiana's coming off, some more difficult games here. Atlanta, they are coming off a blowout win, but it was against a terrible Connecticut team. I would lean Atlanta here. Plus, the public probably slightly sides with Indiana because they're a good offense, and that's what the public likes, the offense. But Indiana's defense leaves something to be desired here, and Atlanta is the better defense. And I lean towards better defense a lot of the times because I think defense can stifle offense. 54% of tickets, 50% of the cash on Indiana, so they're a little bit public with less of the money on them. It's about a 1.5 or a 1 on Atlanta here. You might be able to play the money line as well at a decent price. I think that's what I would do. Lean towards Atlanta. Atlanta. I like Atlanta a little bit in that game. Better defense, slightly better spot in my opinion. Not a strong opinion though. Total's really high at 187.5. Indiana plays that style where it's high tempo, high scoring. I think the side and total is correlated in this game, in my opinion. I think Indiana and the over are correlated because that's the style they want to play. High tempo, scoring, bad defense. Atlanta wants to slow it down most likely and play better defense. So I think those are correlated. So I would also probably lean to the under for that reason. But the money is coming in on the over. So, and again, you know me, I'm not really a totals guy in any sport besides baseball. So, and then Portland-Phoenix is the other game of the ESPN doubleheader, the later game. Although it's not really late. It's 7 p.m. But I don't think we really have to worry about the time zone shifting for these two teams. Phoenix is not really staying at home. They just played in L.A. in a neutral site game, but it was in L.A., but whatever. They're returning back to Phoenix. Who cares? They've had a bunch of days off. Hosting an ESPN game, usually you will get up for this. One thing that we need to know is the status of Plum. Is she actually going to play in this game? It looks like the answer is no. She's still out. So Plum is still going to be out. Phoenix just got her, man, from L.A., and she's hurt again. So she's like basically their best player, even though they just got her, but she's out. Portland is not a good team, though. Phoenix is the better team, even without Plum. Portland just played on Friday, so I think they have, they're at a rest disadvantage. Portland is. They're coming in from Seattle, so the travel is a little bit worse for them as well. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to see here as far as this game is concerned. I would lean to Phoenix. Even without Plum, they're better than Portland. They're laying 5.5 here now, or 5. It almost looks too easy to take Portland as an underdog, right? Given what these teams' records look like. The public is not going to come in and want to lay 4 or 5 points, but Phoenix actually has the worse record than Portland does. But obviously, the odds makers are telling you Phoenix is actually the better team. Phoenix has had a difficult schedule. They're the better team. Portland started out the season a little bit hot because teams didn't know what Portland was going to throw at them. But now that everybody's gotten a look at Portland, they've been worse. Portland's not good on defense either. Yeah, I would lean to Phoenix here. 67% of tickets on Portland, 51% of the cash on Phoenix. Money agrees with me on that one. Laying the points with Phoenix, I think, is the move there. And it is one of those ones where, yeah, it's a misleading line. Like, the line makes no sense. It's almost like the books are begging you to take Portland almost there. Like, oh my God, the team with the better record is a big underdog. It looks so easy to do that. That is not what I would do. And we have no NFL today, I believe, right? Let me make sure of that, but I don't think so. Feels weird on a Sunday after the NFL has kind of started, but it's preseason. So, yeah, that was the end of preseason week 1. And we won't have football again until these 2 games on Thursday. So, but it's preseason. It is what it is. I was not screen sharing anymore, but yes, that's going to do it. My 2 plays today, both in baseball. We have Tampa Bay on the money line, and we have under 7.5 in Brewers, Dodgers. Let's do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to this channel here. You'll get notified when I go live with some of my football content that's coming up, more football preview stuff. probably soon. College is starting soon, so I'll probably get the college one done first, and I haven't previewed it at all yet. NFL I kind of have already. I gave out some win totals that I do like, and kind of did my divisional arrangement, but I'm going to probably preview it again and maybe change my opinion slightly on some of the division arrangements. I don't know, but I'll probably do a show like that. So subscribe and you'll get notified when that happens. You know, give me good comments, hype the show, whatever the hell that even does. Listen on audio, Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. That all helps me out as well. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. You can check that out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad if you want to support me that way. It's all in my link tree. It'll be in the description. It's also on my Twitter or X. What else do I have to promote? Losercast every Tuesday night and the New York Giants G-Spot podcast. I know they played yesterday, but it was a preseason game. The only thing to really talk about is Jackson Dart taking too many hits. But yesterday, that wasn't his fault. Like, he wound up in the 10th, but it was because his team completely missed all their blocking assignments. It was a blitz, and he just got wrecked. Like, he had no time to do anything. So that wasn't his fault. It wasn't like he ran, you know, and didn't get down or something like that or did anything stupid. It was the blocking just completely failed, and he got nailed instantly by a blitzer. So I don't know. Yeah, that one wasn't his fault, but he wound up in the 10th again. He came back in, so luckily for the Giants, seems not serious. He came back in, threw a touchdown. Maybe he shouldn't have been out there at all, though, in preseason game 1. You don't want him to get hurt. But he came back in, threw a touchdown, and then they took him out. Whatever. That's going to do it. And, yeah, I think that's it, right? Yeah. Happy Sunday, everybody. We'll be back on Monday with a shorter board to break down. Somewhat shorter. That's going to do it. Peace.
If the dark starts talking, hand me the phone. Let somebody answer, let somebody know. You do not have to lose this round alone. Hold on, not tonight, not now. Crown, hold on, stay with me now. Hold on, you're still here.